I floated the main quilt top on top of a batting and backing that was already laid out on my frame, and I will use some pins and a tiny bit of spray base to hold it in place before I began my pantograph. I had it rolled on a pool noodle as I started the top. I write down the number of the height of this design when I get this size set, and mine is set at 7.25 inches. And then I will also look at this repeat up here of 24.57 and write that down. And then I'm going to look on here for where the repeat is and kind of measure that so that I know how much of a repeat I have to leave at the end to shift to the left, because it will not do a partial repeat. To shift the quilt, I'm going to put the needle down and shift it like I always have when I was doing any other kind of hoop frame work.
Okay, it's still...
I'm now going to shift it 24.57. I'm going to go 25 inches to the left so I get a full repeat on the right. It started perfectly in the right spot, and now I just can finish this 24-inch section, and I'll probably have another small one to do. See, it stopped, and I probably have maybe 8, 9 inches. And remember that the repeat on here is about 12.5 inches, 12.25 inches. So now I'm going to shift and let the machine think I have 12.5 inches and set the start and the stop so it will finish the roll, and I will just pause it, stop it, finish it after it goes off of the quilt. I have a mark on my frame that shows me where the end of my safe zone is. So as long as I am farther down than the 12.25 inches that the one repeat of this design needs and the end of my quilt, I should be good. We'll see how it does. Okay, so I'm reclamped. I added a leader to get the tension right. And now I'm going to go in here and go to next and say place again. And remember, my needle is down, so I'm going to lift my needle up. And I'm going to make that my start. Make sure it went in, okay. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to cut my thread here. I think I might lock it in place a little bit. And I'm going to cut my thread so I don't drag the bobbin thread down here as I set my end point, because it's shorter. Although actually I don't know that I need to. It's already there. It shows, it knows where we are in the frame. It knows it's just one repeat, so I don't need to reset the end point. That is not always the case. Sometimes you do. So we should just be ready to go to the next screen. Move to start. It should still be in this right spot. It is. Go to the next screen. Start your countdown. Start your countdown. There it goes. And I'll stop it when it gets all of the design off of the edge. This is the last circle, so I'm watching the screen up here where my mark is, and I'm watching my end, and I will pause it and then cancel it when it finishes this last circle. I'm going to watch that it doesn't pick up the edge coming out. So it's going to circle off, and I will stop it there, and this way we'll be done. And then you would just hit cancel, because you're going to have to stop that design since it's not finished, and you'll reset for your next row, which is why I wrote all my numbers down, and this row was at 7 1/4, in case you forget. I do pull up my bobbin thread before I take everything off, and then I'm going to move up one row by measuring the 7 1/4 inches down, and knowing my start spot is actually 6 inches down. So I'm just going to measure 6 down on the left side, and that will be my start spot. So I shifted the quilt down, and I haven't clamped the whole thing, just this back one so far. And I went back instead of canceling. I mean, I canceled and then I went back 2 screens, and I want to try to use this to set my start without having to go back and reset the design size. And I think I can. It looks pretty good. So one thing I have found is that I don't pull this up as high as I did on other pantos, because I like to be able to still see my numbers on the top. And if I get it too high, this is actually a little low, so I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to pull this up about 1 inch, because this is too close to the bottom for me right here. I want it to be up a little higher, so I will raise this up a little bit, but I still want to be able to see this top line. Before I put this final clip on here, I run my hand up under the quilt to check that backing to make sure it's flat, no wrinkles, especially since I was putting this floated on the top of my backing and batting. After my frame is all set, everything looks pretty level. I've measured. I am now going to measure down from the start point last time, 6 inches and 1/4 maybe, because I want to be sure I don't overlap my design. And then I might come down another inch, just be sure I have clearance. I do, because this design goes down another inch. Now I set my start point, and I'm going to go take that ruler off, and I'm going to go down here and set my end point. It should be in this zone somewhere. End point levels it out. I hit the end point right here. And then I kind of start it back this way, and then it's a little faster. And then I tell it to move to start. And now I'm going to pull up my thread after I put my foot down. Pull up my thread, pull up my bobbin tail, and then I'll move back to start. So this is how I pull up my bobbin tail on here. And we'll see if that will sit there. Okay. I put my foot down. Whoops, my thread came on. I had to rethread my machine. So now I'm at my start point, I believe. Move to start. Yes, I'm going to pull up my bobbin thread. Foot is down. And I push away, pull up my thread, and I go back on the screen and tell it to move to start, and it will go right back to where I pulled my thread up. Now I'm ready to start again. And this is my trick. If I'm not positive that this design is set and it's not going to overlap, I will start it on here and do the countdown, but I won't start my machine. I'm just going to watch it for this high spot to be sure it doesn't hit, and then I'll restart it. So you'll see the machine is going, and I'm watching it on here. I'm watching it on the display, and I'm looking for this high point. I want to be sure I'm down far enough that it doesn't hit a design. And if it does, it's right on the line. So I think I'm going to drop this design down about another 1/4 inch. So pause. Another 1/4 inch should do it. So I'm going to go down here to cancel. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to reset my start point Well, actually, let me go forward again. I'm going to move to start. There's my start point. It went back to the start. Now I want to drop it down a little bit, so I'm going to go back one screen. And I'm going to bring this down a tiny bit and make my start point again. And then I'm going to go over here to my end point and redo it. End. Next. Go back to move to start. Okay. Got to pull up the bobbin thread, and I'm going to do the little run without the needle and thread again to be sure I'm not over intersecting my design. I'm going to check my design by not turning the machine on to be sure I'm not intersecting. Waiting for it to get to this high point, and then I will pause it and look. All right, there's the high point, and you can see I have about a finger's width now. I'm good. Last time I was right up on it. So I'm going to leave that as my start point, and I'm going to cancel. And I'm going to go back a screen. I'm going to move to start. There we are. My bobbin thread. I'll check to be sure it's still in the right spot. Now I'm going to pull it up again because I think it traveled with me. And then I'm going to be ready to go.